iPhone X has set a new standard on how we interact with our iPhones. It paved the way to gesture navigations, animojis, portrait selfies, and more importantly, it introduced Face ID to the world. The iPhone X also is not without its flaws though, such as that dreaded notch, which until today is still being mentioned when owning today's iPhones. And also the removal of that 3.5mm headphone jack, which to me is still an unwanted omission. Now the iPhone 13 Pro has vastly improved on what was the iPhone X, with a faster processor, a 120Hz variable refresh rate for those smooth and buttery movements, and a triple array of cameras with cinematic mode and ProRes. But how much has this phone differ from the original? Is the iPhone X still relevant for you in 2022? Or is it time to upgrade to the 13 Pro? Hey, what is up guys? My name is Paul. Welcome back to the channel. And today we'll be talking about the differences between the iPhone X and the iPhone 13 Pro, on how far the iPhone 13 Pro has gone since the iPhone X and its improvements as well. And maybe determine later on if in 2022, if it's time for you to shift to a new iPhone or just remain a year more with the iPhone X. Now, I have had the iPhone X for 4 years now, and I wish I could tell you that up until today, it's still a really good phone, considering your budget. Back then, it was really easy on buying this phone as it only had one size. The only thing that you have to think about when buying this phone is what color you want to buy and how big of a memory is your preference, whether it's a 64GB or a 256GB memory. So outside, we're looking at a glass back exterior with stainless steel chamfers, which was very scratch prone. It has a 6.5-inch OLED screen, a first of its kind with a 60Hz refresh rate that goes all the way to the front of the phone. It also has a large notch on its forehead that also houses the Face ID and front camera as well. Now it also has two lenses on the back, an f1.8 wide-angle lens and an f2.8 telephoto lens, both lenses which has optical image stabilization. So how is the experience using this phone for around 4 years already? Well, the iPhone X takes decent photos to say the least. It's actually really good when taking photos and videos on a bright sunny day. It takes really good video at 24 to 60 frames per second at 4K and up to 240 frames per second at 1080p. Portrait mode works as it should be, but portrait selfie mode, however, is a bit of a mixed bag. In the end, you decide if you want the results or not, as the iPhone X computation is still not that perfect. Now, just a side note, studio lighting to me up until now, is just a gimmick. On night shots and video though, the iPhone X still introduces a few noise and in my opinion, is a bit underwhelming. But given the right light and angle, I believe that you could work your way through this. Now, through the years that I've been using this, I could say that I didn't really had any problems with this phone. I've gotten used to the gestures, and so far, it hasn't bogged down on me just yet. Sure, there are some times that I notice a few lags here and there, but compared to the phones of the past, this has greatly improved with regards to efficiency of use and also shelf life. Its battery could also last me a good 6 to 7 hours of constant use. Now let's go to the iPhone 13 Pro. Now the iPhone 13 Pro is the best iPhone of Apple just yet. With its 120Hz ProMotion and adaptive variable refresh rate, it gives a very smooth feel to the whole experience. It also has a new set of cameras that maximizes the phone's video and photo taking capabilities. Now for starters, let's talk about that exterior. Now this phone compared to the previous one has more of a rectangular shape. It also houses its new ceramic shield screen, which to me is no different. Hey, glass is glass. If it falls high enough, it will break. Now let's talk about that notch. Now the notch has been significantly reduced, but only to the left and right aspects. it still looks tall and noticeable compared to the iPhone X, so there's not much of a difference there. The screen is larger and still OLED, but the new change here is that it has a 120Hz ProMotion variable refresh rate. Now the iPhone 13 Pro also has 3 lenses on the back. It has that f1.5 aperture wide-angle lens that lets in more light, which improves your photos and videos. And it also has a 3x telephoto zoom lens with 3x optical zoom. Now coming from the iPhone X, that wide-angle lens is a welcome upgrade for me. It not only gives me a wider field of view, but it also takes in more light, which greatly improves the quality of my videos, especially during night photography. What's more is that the iPhone 13 Pro's wide-angle lens also introduces macro mode, which gives you the ability to do those close-in shots around 2 centimeters away from your subject. Now you would ask yourself, as an average user, how are these things relevant to me who's not a professional photographer? Well, to be quite honest, I've used the wide-angle camera for quite a lot now, and I'm enjoying the shots that it's been taking. I can take certain wide-angle shots ranging from landscape, and even with this wide-angle shot of the arena that I just took from the Royal Easter Show yesterday. But apart from that, the difference mostly fall on the software side of things. Apple has introduced cinematic mode, which shoots at 1080p videos with a blurry background. Since it's relatively new, this thing isn't perfect. The iPhone's computation of separating subjects from their background still needs a little bit more work. But the good thing about this though is that you can actually fix this through post-processing. So it's not actually baked in through the video once you're done recording. This actually helps you fix up the aperture of your shot and also repositions the focus of your video as well. Now it also has ProRes, which retains an excellent image and color data needed for giving you more of that control when post-editing your videos. But unfortunately, it does eat away a huge chunk of memory in your iPhone. Saying 1 minute of a 4K video already takes around 6 gigabytes of your onboard memory. On top of that, exporting is actually a nightmare considering the current Thunderbolt 3 cord that we currently have with our iPhones. Now with ProRes, the iPhone 13 Pro can shoot at around 24 to 30 frames per second in 4K and 30 to 60 frames per second in 1080p. But again, this will take a huge chunk of your memory. So here are some sample shots taken with the iPhone X and the iPhone 13 with regards to comparing on the quality of their photos and also their videos. What do you think? Will these new changes motivate you to buy the new iPhone 13 Pro? Or are you still good with your current iPhone X for another year? Let me know down in the comments down below. Again guys, thank you very much for tuning in. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and also hit that bell icon for any more future notifications. Until then, I'll see you all on the next vid.